All right, let's do this. Here we go. Welcome to episode 1 of the Write Up. This is where science of literacy research meets writing instruction, and everything is grounded in what actually works in real classrooms. If you're watching live, tell us in the comments where you're tuning in from, your connection to writing with design, or what you hope to gain from watching the Write Up. We would love to get to know our community.
Yes. Each episode, we're going to explore literacy research, interview amazing educators, and share practical tools and transformations from writing with design. Whether you're just starting your writing journey or looking to refine your practice, you are definitely in the right place.
So today we're going to turn the lens on ourselves. No pressure, everybody. Don't worry about it. We're going to share who we are, why we care so deeply about the work that we do and this work, and how writing with design began, how it started.
All right, so a quick group intro. We were the founding members of a team that built a second through eighth grade literacy department from the ground up. We designed the curriculum, we supported the MTSS, all while teaching students of all different types of abilities and levels.
Yeah, and what brought us together wasn't just the job. It was really the shared belief that writing instruction needed more clarity, more structure, and lots more support. So each of us brings a different lens to that work. So we're going to share about that. So Tabitha, let's start with you.
All right. I am Tabitha. I am a middle school maven teacher and writer. And my passion is bringing the science of literary into making it relevant for secondary teachers. Science of reading is not just for early grades.
All hail middle school teachers, right? And I mean, there's nothing like them. I got to give it to you. I'm Hillary. I'm a Wilson dyslexia practitioner, fierce SPED advocate. That's really where my heart is. And I love working at the intersection of policy and equity and classroom practice. If you want to know a SPED law or you want to know something like that, if I don't know it, I find joy in researching it. So, and especially when it helps students with diverse needs really thrive and feel good about themselves.
I'm Megan. I am a twice exceptional learner with dyslexia. I struggled with spelling, getting my thoughts down on paper, all of the common things that we hear from students. That was my educational journey growing up. But now I'm a high school special education teacher, dyslexia advocate, and educational researcher, and I focus on meaningful policy and reform changes for those underserved student populations.
I'm Melissa, and I'm an elementary teacher. I'm teaching fifth grade this year, and I'm also a certified academic language therapist. And I've worked really hard to bring the same structure and clarity to writing that I have been able to bring to my reading instruction.
Yeah, and I'm Amber, the founder and director of Writing with Design. So we are the Fab Five, as I have affectionately nicknamed us. And I want to thank everyone again for joining on, and apologies for the technical pieces at the beginning. This is our first live, and so had to get a few things figured out. So we are so excited that you're here. So please make sure you share who you are, what your connection is to us, and just anything about writing that you want to see us cover. So what I would love to do right now is just tell a little bit more about Writing with Design and where it started. And it's really crazy to say that it was in my classroom more than 20 years ago. So in my first few years of teaching, I taught everything because I was that new teacher always. I moved around a lot. So I taught kindergartners who were profoundly deaf. I taught multilingual students in Spain, refugees in South Africa, second graders in Mississippi, fourth graders in Oklahoma, and a lot more in between. And so whether it was different continents and different ages, it didn't really matter. There was one thing that was surprisingly consistent. And that's when I wanted my students to write. They moaned and groaned and said, "Do we have to?" And I really couldn't believe it because writing had been such a pathway for me. It was my ticket to go to my dream school by writing lots of scholarships. So I was able to attend Vanderbilt, which was the the school I didn't think I would be able to get into completely through scholarship because I could write. And so that for me showed how writing unlocks opportunity and self-expression. And I really wanted the same for my students. So it really made writing my mission. How do I get students to not only write, but write well and enjoy it? And so that started me down the path of doing research. And I came across the work of Steve Graham and all of his research on effective writing instruction, and I was instantly hooked. I joke, but it's really true. I have an intellectual crush on him and all of the work that he's done. And as I dug deeper, I kept thinking back to also what I had learned at my time at Vanderbilt, and as I studied language acquisition, that was part of my special ed degree. And I'll never forget what my favorite professor, she taught me everything I know about teaching students with hearing loss, and that's Professor Gail Zika. And she said, the brain is wired for speech, and that's the first and certainly most powerful pathway to literacy. But for students with significant hearing loss, the path looks different. And that's what she began to teach me of how do you actually open the doorway for literacy for students who don't have that auditory input. And then that really got me thinking as I was looking through all the research and learning about what was out there for effective writing instruction. It made me start to think about what happens when students don't have access to that first channel, but even more broadly, what do all students need to become competent, capable writers? And that really has guided everything that we've done in Writing with Design. So I began to weave together what I learned about oral language development, literacy acquisition, high quality writing, and certainly more research came into my wheelhouse from researchers like Charles MacArthur, Karen Harris, Michael Hebert, Dolores Perrin, the list goes on. And as I tried out those ideas and strategies with students, what emerged was this incredibly student-friendly structure and framework that made writing clearer, more accessible, even more joyful for everyone in the classroom. And students began to say things like, "Ooh, can we write about that?" Or, "Mrs. Parks, I want you to read what I wrote." And it was actually something that they could be so proud of. So as they say, the rest is history, right? I began sharing with colleagues, then with teachers in neighboring schools and schools in neighboring states. And really what started in a single classroom has now grown into this pre-K through 12th grade writing framework that's grounded in more than 2 decades of evidence-based research on effective writing instruction. And what I really want to say is that at the heart of this work is the belief that writing isn't just a subject, that it's really a life skill. And we here as the Fab Five want to make high quality literacy instruction accessible, equitable, and transformative for all learners.
Yes. So I want to tell you what hooked me to Writing with Design. It's so clear. And I have been a writer my whole life, since I was in 3rd grade, filling up journals. And I just remember thinking the first time I saw Writing with Design was, why didn't anyone explain it to me this way?
Yeah, same for me, because I'll be honest, I have not been a writer my whole life. Honestly, when I would write something, my dad would take it and look at it and be like, "Hillary, come on." And a lot of times it was the Hillary and Steve project because it wasn't mine. But for me, with Writing with Design, it was really how accessible it was. Like I said, hello, I like it. I like to help all the students in SPED and IEPs. And so really it was for how accessible it was for every learner, the GT students to the striving learners. I work with a lot of students, like I said, on IEPs, and Writing with Design really has given them a structure to hold on to, and it doesn't water anything down. It's truly just there and helps everybody.
And it actually matched what I knew about reading instruction. So that was really a game changer for me. I spent years aligning my reading block to the science of reading. And this was the first time that writing kind of made sense. Just the explicit nature of Writing with Design and the structure of it, and teaching my students these step-by-step pieces to write really was something that they could hold on to.
Yeah, well, and I see it as like a lifeline. So for kids like me that really struggle with how to get their thoughts out on paper or having the tools to feel confident in their writing, the visual tools that Writing with Design uses, and the leveling sentence, going from the word to the sentence to the paragraph progression, it just makes it click for those students.
Yeah, especially for like middle schoolers and high schoolers. I have taught so many students who just completely shut down when it comes to writing because they're like, I can't do this. But then I will show them a mind design and they'll be like, what? I can totally do this. This is so easy. And it makes writing, it gives them confidence and clarity in their writing.
And bonus, it gives us confidence too, because as teachers, we're not sitting there guessing what we're supposed to do, what's the right thing to do. We know what to teach, we know how to teach it, and we know that it works and why it works.
Yeah, and I think all of that can really be summed up with this visual here, which is, a teacher would never say to a class of students, just get out a sheet of paper and I just want you to math, right? You can math about anything you want. I just want you to math for 20 minutes, right? Students are going to look around at each other like, what do we do? What am I supposed to do here, right? Or going into a science lab, teachers would never say, okay, there's Bunsen burners and there's chemicals and I just want you to science, right? There's a procedure that they're supposed to follow so that they can still leave with their eyebrows at the end of their lab time. So that's really what we wanted to do in writing with design, is give that structure, give that systematic approach to writing that takes out all of the overwhelm, because we don't want students to freeze. We want them to know how to think and plan and write with a purpose. So we're really excited today to jump right into one of our skill focus activities, because we want you to leave with something that you can start right away with students or your own children, or just for yourself in terms of growing your writing skill set. And so skill focus activities are one of the daily components of writing with design. They're a powerful way of really getting drills going for students on specific criteria that make them really strong writers in very tangible and developmentally accessible ways. So they're very student friendly, they're very engaging, and they're one of our best features that we have. So this one today is called Adjective Overload, and it's one of our favorites.
Yes, when we think of powerful writing, the thing that comes to mind is adjectives. They play such an important role in writing. And but what we see a lot of times is when students include adjectives in their writing, they use really weak and overused adjectives like big and nice, pretty, little.
Or color words. Always color words, red, blue, green, always color words.
And they always put them at the end of the sentence. So like the dog is furry or the ice cream was cold. They're always at the end.
So in this activity, our students are going to learn about the categories of adjectives. And then like a rubber band, we're going to stretch them and we're going to go overboard on purpose to build a phrase with too many adjectives. First of all, it's really fun. We get a lot of giggles doing this, right? But hence the name adjective overload. By going from weak to no adjectives to an overload of adjectives, our students are going to learn this really sweet spot, which is 2 to 3 adjectives that are right in front of the noun when they create a vivid phrase.
Yeah, so this is what it looks like. Skill focus activity, adjective overload part 1. You'll see we have 3rd through 12th grade. We actually have banded out this activity into smaller grade bands. So 3 through 5 and 6 through 12, and that actually 6 through 8 and then 9 through 12. So we've got it for lots of different grade bands so that you can have just a lot of examples that would fit within your grade level of students. So to get started with this, what we're going to do is there's a page here that really outlines for teachers what to do. We're just going to dive right in so you can see what it's all about. There's a link to student sheets. There's references to where in our binders and our print material, there's more information on what we're doing in this skill focus activity. But this is the heart of it, right? We want students to grow their repertoire of adjectives and not just stick to those color words like Melissa said, right? We want them to know more of the types of adjectives, the categories of adjectives. And then what's really fascinating in English is that we have a set order that adjectives have to go in. And so this classifying design has not only all the types of adjectives, but then in their proper order so that we put them in the order that sounds right when they read their phrases. So the two that have asterisks, sensory and appearance, they are also broken down, of course, into the 5 senses here and then appearance. So you have a wealth of categories here to choose from. So we want to make sure that teachers and students really realize there are so many categories of adjectives that we can pull into writing. And that alone will start to get more creative ideas. Then this activity really stems from taking a picture, or using a picture. So we've got one here of a delicious looking turkey. And I wish mine turned out like that on Thanksgiving. Getting better, but not quite to that level yet. But here's what it looks like in the SFA for you. We have this turkey example fully done, so you can see that we have 5 of the adjective categories. So what Meghan shared, that we're going to stretch them too far. We have different examples in each of those categories. And so this is something that students would brainstorm. What are some quantity adjectives? What are some temperature adjectives that we could pull in based on that picture? So we are still source-based, even though it's a picture. That's really helping students even tie in that connection that, oh, I can't talk about, a charred black turkey because I don't have a picture of that. I got to stick with the one that's there. Then the next part is for students to choose their favorite in each of the categories. And you can see the 2 different colors here are just kind of indicating that students are going to choose different ones. And we don't want to script them to choose a certain one. We want this to be where they get to select the ones that they, as a writer, really love. And that's one of our mantras in Writing with Design, that when we give structure, which we've done with the classifying design, and then we give choice, which we've done with the options, then students find their voice. And that is so clearly exemplified right here. So students might put one of these phrases, right? If it's the student who circled in green or the student who circled in purple, one of those phrases would be on their page. And this is also great for teachers to just put several up for students to just see. Ooh, one student said, one giant steaming aromatic golden brown turkey. Wow, I got to take a breath before that one, right? Or here's another one, a massive just baked seasoned deep caramel colored turkey, right? So those super stretched, really overloaded phrases are what we want students to write and to practice saying. And then from there, we want to once they've selected their 2 to 3, once they get their 5, then we come and talk about verbs, right? And so here we just had the question, like, what do you do with the turkey? Well, you prepared it, you cooked it, you ate it. So those verbs are going to now latch on to the sentence or be a part of the sentence to come up with something bigger than just an overloaded phrase. So after you do the big brainstorm and the selection of the favorites in each of the categories, you choose verbs. And then that last part down here where the adjectives are circled is really where students start to say, hey, we really like this one, or I really like these 3, and that's the ones that I think are best. So this can be through pairing with another student and they get to get feedback from a peer, or it could just be student selection that they say, these are my favorite ones out of the 5 that I first put. Then on this slide, you're seeing just some more components of sentences because we want to go from that phrase into a full sentence. So we've got different starters. I helped my grandmother for Thanksgiving at my grandma's house, and then some prepositional phrases, some frames that just give different ways of putting the sentences together. And then look at those rich sentences that students could come up with, right? And these are just 3 of a myriad of options that students could write. So it's really incredible that when we give students the clarity of options and structure, they really are able to say, okay, I want a little bit of that and a little bit of that and a little bit of this, and come up with their own incredible sentences. So that's where the confidence is built. We scaffold, support, and then we let them find their voice. So we're going to just take a look at one on fireworks here, just for fun, since 4th of July is coming up in a couple days. So this is a beautiful picture of fireworks going off over a skyline. And so here's just another example of the categories, different ones from the turkey, right? So it's coming from that very first slide that had all the categories of adjectives. So if you see one in here that you really love, you are certainly welcome to put it into the chat. And we would love to see kind of what adjectives resonate with you under each of those categories. So we've got quantity, emotion, brightness and color, sound and movement, lots of great options there. And so from here, a phrase would be written out. And yeah, we're not gonna be able to select them because I didn't go to the right screenshot for that, but or screen option, but those little blue circles there are just meant to go over certain ones. So even we can just as a team talk here, you all, of which ones out of these do we think are the best?
I love
Breath.
breathtaking.
Ooh, a double. You know what? I'll just come out like this. So breathtaking, perfect. I really like countless. What if we did countless, breathtaking,
Shimmering.
ooh, shimmering,
I like explosive. No, thundering. Thundering.
thundering? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My dog would say thundering for sure because they scare me.
Right.
Nixie's got to make an appearance on this more
Bursting.
than once. Bursting. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So then we're going to come down here to our phrase. Let me just get a text box here. And that would be typed out. Countless. You all can take a look at my typing skills here. Shimmering, thundering, bursting. Ooh, lots of INGs, adjectives here. So from this lovely long phrase, then we're going to figure out which ones we like best. So countless, breathtaking, shimmering, thundering, bursting fireworks. Too much, adjective overload. What can we now pull as 2 or 3 that we think are the best?
Oh, it's hard because there's so many INGs there.
It's
I like
true.
the countless and the breathtaking.
I like breathtaking too, because when you watch the fireworks in real life, you go,
Good. We're going to put those 2 together. So maybe we do that. Countless, breathtaking fireworks. And then, what's really neat is shimmering, thundering, and bursting could also become verbs. So we have some on the next slide, but that's the beauty of adjectives and verbs, the connection that just changing the suffix changes their part of speech, also placement in the sentence. But that's just such a powerful connection for students to see. So I'm just going to grab this overloaded phrase with our 2 that we circled and bring it down here onto this next slide. And so you can see we've got gazed and marveled and admired as 3 verbs, but certainly these other adjectives that we talked about could become our verbs for that. So now we've got verbs, we've got a toned down phrase of countless breathtaking fireworks. And then just for time's sake, we did some starters. This would be something that teachers would brainstorm with students and just be able to, to add into their or add onto their page to have students pull from. And then what we'd love for you to do is pull from, I'm going to pull this back over here, but pull from this information and then we'll get, I'd love to see some of your sentences. So I'm going to just grab our 3 verbs.
So
And
Penny shared in the chat a sky full of celebratory, fiery red, explosive, bursting fireworks. I love it.
that's beautiful. All right, we're going to put all of this on the same page so you've got all your parts. This is why it's great in the classroom. We've got these on pages where everything is there for you. So Tabitha's done a phenomenal job, if I can give her a shout out today, on getting our skill focus activities ready for teachers. They are so easy to and user friendly to put up and share. So, but here you've got your verbs, you've got your adjective overloaded phrase that's been toned down, starters and prepositional phrases. So you kind of got all your parts here, even though I jammed it on all to one slide. So that was a great one.
Yes. Oh, can I share a sentence? I want to write a sentence.
Yes.
With my family on the rooftop, we gazed at the countless breathtaking fireworks above the city.
just thinking about your family on a rooftop has me already like,
My
breathtaking.
family on a rooftop would be me and Nixie on the rooftop, and that would not go over very well because she would be like, "Oh, I don't want to be up here."
Yeah. Well, and there you have it. That's this SFA. It is so fun to do. There is time, just to back into this for a second, it does take time to go through and plan out your adjectives with students, but that's such the rich part of having them think very specifically about quantity. What could we put here for quantity? Do we just want to say 1, 2, 3? No, let's talk about how many are filling up the sky and more than just a certain number, right? So getting students to really understand what these categories mean, what rich words could be put on here so that their bank to pull from is just already going to set them up for success with this. So it's one of our favorite SFAs. We hope you will try it out and share with us on that. So to gain access to it, I'm just going to share this last slide here. This is clickable for anyone who is in the slideshow, and this is where you can go to share your information with us, and we will happily share this SFA with you, which will have it spelled out for 3rd through 5th, 6th through 8th, and 9th through 12th grade.
And my
Ooh,
middle schooler-
Sarah, let's give it to Sarah. She said on the 4th of July, I marveled at the bursting, thundering fireworks.
Ooh, I love it.
Mhm.
My middle schoolers love this activity. Honestly, like the big hook here is getting them to go over the top, right? Because that's what you're really aiming for is like the more over the top, the better. But then when you're able to like pull it, rein them back in a little bit, they really get to see like how powerful their writing can be.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, with students or teachers that are struggling with generating those ideas, like you said, Tabitha, they're sitting there and they see the power. And with those categories, it's a huge help because they turn those adjectives from whatever's in my mind, whatever comes to my mind, into a skill that they can actually practice. And so it doesn't just stop with that one picture, with that one phrase, with that one sentence. It becomes something that their mind is able to turn and turn it into something else, and it becomes something that it becomes routine for them.
Yeah.
in a
And I
way.
think it's such a great example of like how WWD teaches style, but without being too rigid. You're not just handing the students a list of words, they're discovering how to make that list together through doing. And I love what Amber just said also about students finding their voice, specifically for students who struggle with writing and reading. Like this is a total confidence builder for all of our struggling students.
All right, and adjective overload is just one of dozens, and dare I say hundreds that I'm working on, skills focused activities that we will be sharing throughout this series.
So whether you're new to writing with design, or the cooler ones are saying WWD. So it depends on your level of cool. You're just looking for fresh ideas. Everybody's online Googling different ideas. And I mean, if you're just looking for fresh ideas, we really hope that today gave you something that you can take back to your classroom and when you're working with your students, or I mean, honestly, if you're sitting there working on your own things.
And before you go, we want you to tell us what part of today's episode really got your wheels turning. A quote, an idea, a favorite adjective overloaded phrase. We'd love to hear it. And what questions do you have about writing instruction for writing with design?
Yeah. We are already planning our next episode and we want to hear from you. Like, what frustrates you in writing? What do you want to know about teaching writing in your classroom? What can we do to help you be a better writing teacher?
Oh, yes. My cue, my time. Thanks for joining us today, you all. Sorry, I was deep in thought about what Tabitha was saying. Like, yeah, I've got so many things I want to talk about. But thanks so much for joining us. We are just really excited to be doing this. And as I said in my personal post, doing it scared. But we're here. We're wanting to share so much with you about how to make writing doable and accessible, and dare I say enjoyable with students. So we would love it if you would subscribe, right? Share this with a fellow teacher or a parent, coach, or even a school leader, anyone that you know who cares about helping students become confident, capable writers and is looking for the how, right? How do I teach students to write? How do I get my students to not moan and groan when I tell them they've got to write a short answer response or a multi-paragraph essay? We want to make writing something that is in every classroom in this country and beyond, and is something that teachers and students alike see the value in and know what to do.
And before I say what I need to say, I have to give a shout out over here to Lisa Marshall in our chat. We love you. We miss you. She was with us. Fabulous middle school teacher who is going to do great things going forward. But we want to see you guys again. We want to talk to you all again. We want to learn with you and teach with you. So don't miss episode 2. It's coming next week. We're going to dig into why writing instructions so often fall short. I think we all feel that. We've got all the reading, we've got all the research, but where's the writing? And so often it really falls short. And what we're going to do to change that and how we're going to do it.
Bye, everyone.